welcome back to your week 3 on the Sunday Night Show with Johnboy and Snicko. It has been a hectic week to say the least, and we'll cover everything, all the twists, all the turns, and everything in between shortly on the couch. But first, let's kick off this weekly recap, shall we? And the Dolphins in a dogged fight. Out of comeback, 18 points to 12, the Eels managed to outlast the Finns, who came back with a plum after the Eels stretched out to an early lead. They weren't able to crack some resolute defense from the boys in blue and gold, and AMAC will happily take 2 points going into next week. Now, the second slot on Monday had the Titans take on the Sharks, and the Sharks, a rampant, damaging, just all-round scintillating team to watch, outlasted them 30 points to 18. It wasn't for a lack of trying for the boys from the Goldie. Unfortunately, they dropped to 0-3, but they went 1-for-1 with the Sharks most of the game, exchanging tries up until about the 47th minute before Ben Cummins broke through in a late Lachlan Sinclair try and sealed their fate. Now, your Monday night footy and your last game on the Monday slot was Penrith Panthers, and they were taking on the North Queensland Cowboys. Unfortunately for Monkeys men, they went down yet again, 24 points to 16, just unable to crack the Panthers' defense. Honestly, attack reminiscent of their struggles last season. They'll be looking for a response next week. Now, we only had 2 games this weekend, with the Raiders taking on the Tigers and the Bulldogs taking on the Storm. And now the Raiders, they opened up the Tuesday night games with a 22-12 dismantling of the Tigers. Tigers were brave. They tried, but unfortunately, despite a cause of Kerrigan length of the field effort, they weren't able to crack a rather resolute Raiders side. I wouldn't read too much into it for the Tigers, I suppose. I know it's a bit tough to be going down 1-2 to start the season, but the Raiders look like a minor premiership threat, if nothing else, let alone a premiership threat, so I don't begrudge them going down. The Bulldogs, however, had one of the upsets. We'll get to the Roosters game shortly. They went up 28-12 over the Storm. Jai O'Neill's 2-try effort for me was a personal highlight. The former Shark, but Bulldogs legend in the making by the looks of it. He cut them open all day long in his little prop stint in the second half. I think Junior Hallier, Ruben Nobbs and Aaron Bicken really are cooking there in Belmore. Now, your last 2 games of the Wednesday had the Roosters taking the Warriors. I'm sure Snicko has nothing to say, but the Roosters defeating the damaging Warriors by the looks of it. They were all over everyone the first 2 weeks of the season, but the Roosters found an answer, 22 points to 12. Ross Buckley, how good. Length of the field effort left the Warriors struggling and bamboozled. He is a second half legend, to say the least. I'm not quite sure what they inject into at half time, but he comes out absolutely fiending, and they'll be needing more of that next week when they take on the Cowboys. But we'll round off our wins with the Knights and the Seagulls. And man, another loss for the Knights. It's tough for Pretlov's men and women. They've been struggling, to say the least, I think, the first couple of games this season. A lot of close efforts that just haven't been quite what they've needed. KCK's length of the field effort blew the game wide open the last 10 minutes. I mean, I think the Knights were leading going into the 70th minute. And so to go down like that's tough. It really is. I mean, it's hard to see what the road back to finals looks like for the Knights, but I know they can do it. They've got the personnel for it. But we'll dissect that more and everything else that went on last week on the couch. Thank you for joining us once again. Look, we'll catch you on the couch for another episode of the Sunday Night Show. And welcome back to another week of the Johnboy Bio Show with Snicko, or the Snicko Show, Johnboy Moyavo, however way you cut it. It is good to have you back, good to have you with us on the couch. Hope you enjoyed that recap of the previous week's games. Look, it's great to be back with my friend Snicko. Snicko, how you been, bro?
I've been so good. I mean, any week that you talk up the Warriors has been the benchmark for, pretty much the entirety of the last 2 podcasts, then you knock them off.
Not the fake humble ones.
It feels sweet. It feels sweet, let me tell you.
Yeah, so
I wouldn't say it was unexpected because I got to back my boys, but always good to knock off a team that I believe was previously undefeated.
They were previously undefeated, and you did a very good job speaking about how good they were on this podcast, what a fantastic team they were, and then I need to knock them off after a pretty spirited performance from your boys. And we'll cover them in further detail later on in the podcast, but how about we start with our 6 agains? We'll get it off nice and early, and why don't you kick us off, Snicko?
I would love to do that. 60 again.
Meters.
My first 60 again this week is, of course, going to be about the Roosters. I think we're the real deal.
Oh, my God. Stop it.
No,
2 wins a good team does not make.
We're 2-1. We're empirically better at winning than we are at losing.
God, I'd hate to see you guys win again this week.
Yeah, well, tune in tomorrow night whenever we play.
Speaking of our friends from Sydney, maybe down the highway from you guys, the Bunnies, Finn Manning. He is the Jedi, he is Luke Skywalker, Lisan Al-Gaib, whatever you call him. He has led his troops to the Holy Land. They knock off the unbeaten Broncos. Am I going too far to say who's going to lead them to glory this season?
Yes. I'm not going to bonkers that because I don't need to.
What's your one? What's your next one?
Third tackle, just yardage run up the guts. I think this will be the Bulldogs. They might be the real deal as well. They're 2-1 now. They put 50 on the Cowboys.
You must be
They just
smoking
beat the
something.
Storm.
You must be
They
smoking
just beat the
something.
Storm, who were
Luck.
undefeated. I think they're shaping up quite nicely. I think that
This is
Aaron
pandering.
Beckman's season on the wing has been like crazy. If you look at his stats, like they're solid, they're not world beating, but he's just tearing teams to shred.
Snicko just wants to safely travel south in the south of Sydney. Look, I mean, you can't go past their win over the Storm. I thought they looked very good, to be fair to them. Robsy
Tremendous.
seems to have found the formula. Are you talking them up before you guys game, or you eventually play them in a few weeks? Is this a long thing?
Potentially without meaning to, yes.
But they look good. Time will tell. Time will tell. Another big week coming up. But for me, the Seagulls on the bounce. I think they're a finals dark horse. I know they're 1-2, but that's not recoverable. It's a long year, and with 15 games in the season, I could easily see them sneaking in the bottom 3, top 8 places. Maybe even challenging for a top 4. We'd have to see how the season ends up though, and if there's any personnel changes in the midway point. But for your last tackle, Snicko, or the fifth of the set, what are you going for?
Yeah, a bit of shape out to the right. We're going to get to the tram lines. I think this one, James Godwin, he is the best half in the SRL. I think that last season, Ian Coleman was knocking about. He hasn't really kicked on this season. I don't know what James Goldman did in the off-season, but I want to find out. I want to inject into half the Roosters team because let me tell you, he is doing some dangerous things with the ball.
He's an absolute superstar. Did you see his game last week? He's absurd. He scores tries for fun, sets them up as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he leads the Kiwis to goal. Well, not against the Pacifica team. We're 3-0 with them, but he will be their best half for a while. And it's good to have a key bedrock like that. But for the last tackle of the set, we'll bomb it up. And I think the Titans, I know they're 0-3, and I know it's been a tough watch if you're a Titans fan, but I believe in the Taupoke project, and I think that they will figure it out. I don't think finals is realistic for them this season, but I do think they've had some tough games. They played a very good Storm side. I forget who they lost to in week 2. They lost to the Storm in week 2, and then they had an unlucky loss in week 1. I mean, of course, they played the Sharks this week, and it's always going to be hard to beat one of the greatest teams Israel's ever seen.
Bonkers.
Do I need to expand?
No, you don't. No, you don't. But I would be worried about their defense. They have been shocking on D the entire season. They need to shape up and get some shoulders warm in the warm-ups, I think.
Yeah, well, you'll see their team list this week came out a couple of nights ago. A few changes. We'll have to wait and see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. But that will take us to our Greek Freak of the Week, Snicko. Why don't you lead us in?
Some more Greek mythology, my favorite part of the week.
Those who fail to learn from history are condemned to repeat it.
Yeah, so my Greek Freak of the Week this week is, I think he was coined the best second half winger in the SRL, my very own personal favourite, Ross Buckley. And I decided he is very similar to the giant Antius. Not because he is a giant, but this guy, he decided he was a giant, which is typically the bad guys in Greek mythology. And some people love to hate on the Roosters, so there we go. And Antius, the longer he struggled, the more powerful he got. And if you've seen Ross Buckley play recently, first halves, they're not his thing, right? We'll sit on that. We're happy to say that. But he has pulled off 2 all-time tries in the last 2 second halves he played. And I just think the longer he stays on the field, the better he gets. And for that reason, Ross Buckley is my Greek Freak of the Week.
She's a big freak, and the big freak of the week.
Yeah, no, speaking of Ross, but holy hecker, his try against the Warriors was insane.
What did you see his try against the week before? Who did we verse?
I think
the Tigers.
Beat the Tigers.
It was ridiculous.
He just seems to become instantly slippery in the second halves.
Funnily enough, got a really good singing voice also.
I'll be sure to ask him next time we play you, whenever we play you guys. I think we're not far off playing you, to be fair.
There's a good song about Igor, to be fair. And I'm actually not making that up. That is truthful.
But I suppose it leads us to the preview and the Johnboy preview. We hit on a few last week. I'd proudly say that I predicted I hit on a few. The Bunnies.
I hit on a few.
The Bunnies knocked off the Broncos. Like I said, Finn Manning. He is the Padawan, the Luke to the Anakin, and he will continue to do the same. But let's go through it real quick. After I give my recap or my review, my preview, that is. I'm sure Snicko will chime in with his games over the week that he's looking forward to. Now,
I would love to.
Let's start though with the Monday night and open up your Monday night. The last take on the Raiders. That's the 2-1 team against the undefeated top of the table Raiders. Now I've got the Raiders by 1-8. The Warriors have had some fragilities exposed by the Roosters, and knowing Godwin and knowing Blair Curtin, they're going to exploit those well. And then we go to the game slot 2 of your Monday night. And the Bunnies take on the Knights. This is going to be interesting because both teams have so much to gain. The Pretzel and the Knights are under pressure. A late loss to the Sea Eagles last week saw some frustration explode over at Newcastle. And we've been told that the training regimen going into this Week 4 clash has been incredibly strict for the Bunnies. And Pretzel just needs some resolve from his boys and girls. I mean, 0-4, and you'd probably just count them out altogether. 0-3 is already tough enough to make it into the finals. I don't know how they'll dig themselves out a deep 0-4 hole. For Finn Manning, going at two ends of the bounce would be immense for him and his confidence. And we'll go now to the Week 4. And also, I've got the Knights by 1-8. Your Monday Night Football is Titans against the Dogs, and I'll take the Titans in a close 1-8. Taupoke and his men will get their first win of the season and hopefully kickstart what seems to be a struggling campaign. The Cowboys against the Roosters, I've got Roosters 9-18. I've just not seen enough from the Cowboys the last couple of weeks. They've seemed uninspired, and Muggy needs to dig deep to get something out of his boys. Sea Eagles against the Eels. Oh, go Sea Eagles 1-8. I like which mine's Bill. I like the cut of his jib, to quote Snicko bro. And I think they'll dig deep to overcome a pretty disciplined Eels team. Sharks 19 plus. No, I'm not going to elaborate any further on that. The Storm against the Panthers. We'll go Storm 1-8. I was confused by their loss to the Dogs, I can't lie. It didn't look like the Storm that we're accustomed to. But maybe that's more to do with how quality the Dogs were as opposed to how bad the Storm were. Now, your last game is Wednesday. And, oh, geez, this is going to be a tough one. I'm going to take the Broncos 9-18 over the Tigers. They seem to just stalled a bit momentum-wise, and I'm not quite confident that they'll have enough in them to dig deep against a very, very good Broncos team, which will be hurting after a shock loss. Snicko, what do you got for me? What are your games of the round?
I think Raiders Warriors has to be the table topper for me.
Easy.
2-1 versus 3-0. Riley Flynn's been dynamite at the back, up against Damian Milano, who's going to try and have a bounce back. I'll take the Raiders. Sorry, you know what? I'll take the Warriors 9-18. And then my secondary game, the Cowboys, they know how to put on a show. And let me tell you, these tricolours are going to be ready to ride up against the North Queensland team that I think they're 1-2. We're 2-1. We want to try and gap the rest of the bottom 8 slightly and try and secure ourselves, nicely in that little top 8 portion. Apart from that, games should be good, but they're my 2 highlights for this week.
That's some fantastic highlights. Look, it promises to be a fantastic week of SRL action. We hope you stay with us. I hope you enjoy what looks to be a pretty action-packed week. I'll be in the booth for a few of these games. So no doubt I will see you there at the grounds. But if you've got nothing else, Snicko, I think that's us for tonight's episode of the Sunday night show with Johnboy and Snicko. Have a good one, fellas. Enjoy your nights. Take care. Brush your hair, and we'll see you next one. Mwah.
Keep us separated.